I was just fully expanded into the oneness of the universe. And it was in that moment where I felt like there was no separation between me and the rest of the world. And then this voice came to me and said, "You're in the 13th dimension."
So, hi, Soul Family, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Haji, and this is Amazing Alien Stories. Our guest today is Eesha Patel. Eesha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Haji. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, Eesha. I'm going to let Eesha jump straight in and tell us about her experiences.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I guess I'll probably start with a little bit of the backstory. So when I was growing up, I had quite a number of paranormal experiences, which I guess was in some ways good because it kept me very open-minded to the idea that there might be something other than humans in existence in these realms. And so when I used to have these experiences, I mean, at the start it was kind of scary because it was more like ghostly kind of things or like weird energetic stuff going on in the house. And so yeah, I was not very happy about it, to be honest. But what that did was it got me to sort of open up my spiritual aspect. And one of the things I did even as a child was I remember going on Google, whatever internet, Yahoo, whatever we had back in the day, and I would just try to find things that would help me to like maybe not experience so much of the negative aspect of that. And one of the things that I discovered online when I was probably like 12 years old was how to do a white light meditation practice. And so I used to visualize myself in white light when I was a kid. And every night before I go to bed, I used to imagine this white light, like this bubble of white light around me. And I found it very safe and very protective. And then, I did that for quite a number of years, but then also, became a teenager and I sort of forgot about a lot of this stuff as well for a while. But even throughout those years, I always had that bit of an interest because I was connected very much to just like stories that were to do with, say, witchcraft and paganism. And I remember watching Charmed when I was younger and absolutely loved that TV show. So I had that sort of influence all the way growing up. And then I remember when I was 14, and I think this is where like divine intervention comes in because when I was 14 and Wikipedia was quite fairly new in my world. I don't know if it was new out there, but even the internet itself wasn't that old. So anyway, I remember jumping on Wikipedia and they have this function on there where you can click wiki random and it just brings up any article about anything. And so the stuff that started coming up into my awareness, which now when I look back on it, it's kind of uncanny how this happens. But the stuff that started coming up randomly was stuff about prophecies, Area 51, the Bermuda Triangle, Edgar Casey prophecies. Like it was just this really uncanny experience where I got thrown into this rabbit hole at such a young age and completely by chance in so many regards as well. So yeah, so I remember reading all this stuff on Wikipedia going, oh, that's really interesting. And then I'd go to my local library and I'd check out books about supernatural true stories and try and just like learn as much as I can about the supernatural world. But then as I got older, I actually studied the sciences. So I went to university, I studied engineering. I was quite good when it came to like maths and physics and chemistry and all of those things. And it made me have a better understanding of how the world works from that scientific perspective. So now if we fast forward to around about sort of 2012, that was when I met my first spiritual mentor. And she and I said to her, look, I'm having these weird supernatural experiences in my house. Can you help me? And she helped me to firstly get grounded in my energy field because that's what was causing a lot of the things as well. And secondly, she taught me how to activate my Merkaba light body. Now, at the time that I activated the Merkaba light body, I thought I was doing it just to protect myself, kind of like an evolved version of those white light meditations that I was doing when I was a kid. But what it actually did was it completely opened up my energy field. And so about a year later, when I was sitting and activating my Merkaba light body, it's when I had my first interdimensional experience. It was completely spontaneous. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't even know it was possible because I didn't know that that's what the Merkaba did, right? I was just sitting in this field and practicing this every day. And then suddenly I had this moment where I was just fully expanded into the oneness of the universe. And it was in that moment where I felt like there was no separation between me and the rest of the world. And then this voice came to me and said, "You're in the 13th dimension." I was like, "What's a dimension? Like, what is that even?" And to my young 20s human mind, I was like, "This is just ludicrous. Like, what did I just experience?" But I remember the feeling that I had, and the feeling was like complete oneness, unity, no sense of separation. Like I couldn't tell the boundary point of where my body is and the rest of the world started. So in that moment, it's like I could have been the tree, I could have been the sky, I could have been anything. It was a very, very expansive experience. And at the same time, it was very loving and it was very safe. At no point in that experience did I feel like, oh, this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing. Like it was just like, oh wow, this is amazing. I feel really blessed out. I feel really light and happy. And the experience lasted maybe 30 seconds to a minute tops. But that moment has stayed with me ever since then because it gave me a glimpse of our true potential as a human, like what we can really experience and how expansive we can really be. And in some regards it was almost a bit of a shock coming back because being in that state of expansion and then coming back into the body was just like, whoa, what just happened? So anyway, then of course, I went on Google to try and find any articles or any information about the experience I just had, and there was nothing available. I mean, nobody was talking about dimensions, not even like 5D New Earth, like all of that stuff wasn't very readily available back then. So but there was some people that I discovered who were talking about things like the golden age or the age of Aquarius, and so there was those sorts of things out there, but nothing about the 13th dimension. So yeah, basically I realized at that point that I have to figure this stuff out on my own. And so instead of going to Google, I turned further inside myself. And so every day I would sit down in my meditation, and I was so excited about this experience that I just had that I just wanted to keep trying and trying. And actually sometimes I got disappointed because the next time I tried to activate my Merkaba light body, I didn't have the same experience. And so it's that moment of like when you're meditating and you have this amazing blissful experience. Anyone who meditates regularly has probably gone through this journey. You try and recreate or replicate the experience you've had, but in the process of doing that, what's happening is you're not actually present to the moment, which ironically stops you from having the experience. And so I kind of went through this learning journey a little bit because I was trying to recreate that moment, but I was never able to do that. So then eventually I sat down and I went, okay, cool. Well, I'm just gonna sit down, no agenda, nothing. I'm just going to try and just meditate just because I want to. So I went back to my regular practice, and sure enough, from time to time, I would start to get these glimpses of being in that oneness and that frequency of unity. And I started to make sense of some of these different dimensional frequencies, which the best way that I can describe it is it was like each dimension has a different feeling or a different quality about it. And over time, I began to understand where I'm connecting or which frequency I'm sitting in. And so I did that for a while. And then in 2015, I went through a really big, just a big life change. I was going through a breakup, so coming out of a relationship, and then I just a lot of things catalyzed around that point when I changed careers and like everything happened. So it was around that point where I felt like the universe was really telling me to go in a different direction or to try something new. And so I mean, thankfully I listened to it because within just a matter of days and weeks, I then experienced my first channeling abilities, and I realized that I had these gifts that had come online. And so here I was on the one hand, like completely heartbroken, and I remember I'd gone to I was staying at a place that I used to live at, and I was actually house sitting for this lady that I knew quite well. So I was sitting in her house, and one night I was just like laying in bed, and I remember just saying to the universe, like, I want to be in service. I want to do something. I want to step up. I don't know why my life has just completely fallen apart, but I want to make something of that. And I was really prepared as well to just let go of all the dramas and like yeah, I was heartbroken. Yeah, I was upset. Yeah, I was crying. All of that was going on at the same time. But my deepest desire in that moment was for that clarity and how I can be in service. And boy, did the universe respond to that, because I just suddenly was laying in bed one night and then I started channeling. And I didn't know that I could do it. I hadn't listened to other channelers. It's not like I'd sat there following people online and doing any of this stuff. It was just like, there it is. There's a channeling experience, you know? So that sort of unfolded quite quickly over that period of time. And very quickly after that is when I met the first galactic race, which was the Arcturian Council of Light. Now, I didn't know back then that it was the Arcturian Council of Light. They just said, we're a Council of Light. And so I was going in with a lot of blind faith, I guess is what you can call it, and just like kind of trusting in the process. But what they gave me was a series of sacred geometry codes, and they said, go and share this with people. And so pretty much, yeah, a few weeks later, I put on my very first, it was called a sacred geometry DNA activation event. And when I held this ceremony, we used these sacred geometry codes that I'd been given, and people had these incredible experiences. We're talking spontaneous healings, third eye awakenings. 3 people in the room in my first event saw an Arcturian starship, you know? So like all of this stuff was just kind of coming through. And there was this kind of transition that happened then for the next year or so, where I was experiencing a very heightened state of awareness and awakening, and all my gifts were coming online. But then also my 3D self was trying to catch up to all of that and make sense of it. And there was all the fears and the doubts, and am I making this up, and what's really going on? And so I kind of journeyed through that for a while, until eventually, about a year after all of that, is when I discovered the inner heart meditation practice. And that's the thing that really changed everything for me, because I went from being very expansive with my Merkaba to then going into my heart space and really centering in there. And that's how the rest of my galactic journey unfolded. And I learned how to connect with any galactic being, any realm, any frequency in the universe, by tapping into that inner heart space.